Athletes are launching into the Winter Olympics with strong connections to the Granite State. Mikaela Shiffrin grew up in New Hampshire and is making headlines as a favorite to take gold again on the slopes. The weight of such a big event is not lost on the 22-year-old.
You have to be mentally tough, and it's a bit different because it's not always easy to be confident, and you have to be able to overcome the times when it's really difficult or nervous.
In hockey, Team USA has several women with Granite State ties. Casey Bellamy is a University of New Hampshire alum. Hillary Knight is from Hanover. Kayla Barnes played at the New Hampton School, and Callie Flanagan spent plenty of time with her dad at rinks in Hudson.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's hard to put into words to really describe what it means to be a member of Team USA, and so yeah, it's been an unbelievable ride so far, and we're excited to see what's ahead.
Oh man, it's a dream come true. It's being able to represent your country on a world stage. There's not much better way to describe it than a dream come true.
Knight and Flanagan credit their time in New Hampshire with impacting their successful hockey careers.
It's huge. I remember coming home even from the Olympic tour and stuff, and just having the hometown support. It was instrumental in my development and my success. And whenever people can give you confidence off the ice, hopefully it translates well on the ice.
There are a lot of resources for training there, and so ice hockey is a big thing in New England, and I think in New Hampshire as well. And so it definitely helped me become the hockey player that I am today.
Competitors from all over the state are involved, including Eric Loughran from Pelham in men's aerials and Center Conway's Sean Doherty in the biathlon.
It means a lot to me to represent my little town there in Conway, New Hampshire, and to be here on the biggest sporting stage. It's fun. It really helps me kind of keep it in perspective.
And athletes are not the only ones heading to South Korea. Dr. Andrew Chen is based out of the Alpine Clinic in Franconia and has been the U.S. ski team's doctor since 2008.
Everyone's there in the spirit of good competition, so it's a fantastic place to be. It's an exciting place to be, and I'm looking forward to Korea for sure.
Another strong resource pushing out Olympic athletes is Dartmouth. Ida Sargent, a cross-country skier, is competing just weeks after breaking her hand.
The whole greater ski community has been really amazing, and I'm just so appreciative, and I think that support has just given me a new level of motivation and appreciation coming into these games.
They have connections to 28 medals in previous games and once again have multiple competitors, including Canada's women's hockey coach, Laura Schuler. All of that adds up to lots of Granite Staters pushing for Olympic success this year. Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.